the NFL salary cap through the roof, up to $255 million roughly. And that's a lot of money.
Bruh.
The Panthers have to be careful with how they spend that money in a bunch of different ways. Can't afford many misses because you've already missed enough to set yourself back. But also, I would say be careful with veterans specifically. Be careful with bringing in anyone whose window doesn't add up with the team's window, doesn't align with the team's timeline. Now, you may probably are not surprised to hear this, but I do follow Panthers Twitter and Panthers blogs, and heck, I might even listen to a Panthers podcast or two.
Like Panthers Playbook?
Like Panthers Playbook. I know I listen to way more than one or two of Panthers Playbook.
Oh, okay.
But I like you may not know this, Dennis, but I tend to know your takes on the Panthers. I hear them occasionally. But I also like to branch out and see what other people are saying, what other people are thinking about the Panthers.
Sure.
So we don't get completely echo chambered in here where it's just, mine, Dennis, and Chris Lee's thoughts and Adam Gold's. I keep seeing Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, and other 30-plus-year-old free agents and trade targets with photoshopped Panthers jerseys on. And that's fine, right? If you want the player, you can want the player. The Dolphins just released Xavier Howard. I assume because Xavier Howard is a cornerback and that's a position of need and he's been good for a while, that we're only a matter of time. Someone right now is in somewhere with locked in, headphones on, photoshopping a Panthers jersey onto him. That's fine, right? If you want a player, if you're rooting for your team to sign a player, that's fine. Those names mentioned would be expensive, but they would also both help, right? They would also all help. Now, you'd be hard-pressed to find any kind of a good player of any level that wouldn't help the Panthers in some way. But the concern for me would be the windows aligning. Most 30-plus-year-old free agents, and especially most 30-plus-year-old trade targets, with big names are in a very specific situation. A, they would help a bad team. Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, Xavier Howard, Vaitai, the offensive lineman, all of these guys would help the Panthers. The other specific part of it is they're going to be more expensive than younger guys. The younger options, the less proven options, are going to be cheaper. And then the third point is the older guys usually don't want to rebuild. Winning 6 games next year for the Panthers, massive improvement, right? You win 6 games after winning 2 and being the worst team in the NFL, you're moving in the right direction. You're excited with the way the roster's going. Bryce Young has probably shown significantly more flashes. It's like, hey, this is awesome. You know who's really upset to win 6 games? Somebody who thinks they only have another season or 2 of being an elite player and a big-time contributor. Mm-hmm. They're going, wait a second, I only got a few more runs at this. I want to go win it all. And that's where the concern is. Think of Adam Thielen. It sounds ridiculous now, but Adam Thielen said this late in the season. He said he came to Carolina to compete for a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's a surprise that his buddy Frank Reich was fired. It was obvious they weren't going to play for a Super Bowl, that his play significantly declined over the last third of the season. Right, at one point, he was on pace for like 1,600 yards and 14 touchdowns. Did not get there. Right, he was on pace for like 130 catches. Finished with just over 100. Right, the pace significantly dropped off. That's what happens, right? But guess what? You don't want that to happen. You need somebody coming in that wants to be a part of the build. You need somebody coming in that looks at the Panthers and says, I want to be a building block. I want to be a franchise legend. I want to get on the ground floor, and I want to be here in 2027 when we are competing, right? Which is 2028. That has to be the plan. Which is why when you hear me talk about receivers, I'm not talking about Mike Evans or Stephon Diggs. I'm talking about T. Higgins. I'm talking about Brandon Ayuk. I'm talking about Calvin Ridley. I'm talking about maybe even a Hollywood Brown. Gabe Davis out of Buffalo. He is an underrated producer. Like, those are the guys I think you bring in. Someone who might realistically be here, be in Carolina for when they are competing. That or a really, really introspective vet. That's the special one, right? And this, by the way, this might be Mike Evans. I don't know what Mike Evans' brain cells are telling him. I don't know if that's how it works. Brain cells tell you things. But I don't know if it's telling him like, hey, you got one Super Bowl, that's plenty. Go somewhere where you'll be appreciated. Go somewhere, still on the East Coast. Like, you don't know what he's looking for. But if you do have a super introspective veteran, somebody that's like, no, you know what? I want to go impact a young team. I want to go help Bryce Young. And that way, when I retire, I'll have a connection to the league. I'll still be texting him like, hey, what the heck are you doing on that third down? That'll be my buddy, my protege. Because there is something cool about being a mentor too. Right? Just the other day, Dennis and I had a high schooler shadowing us.
Yeah.
And there is something cool about like, hey, what do you want to know? I've acquired all of this information. I would like to pass it along. I say this about being a parent, right? Because you're only going to, unless you're Phillip Rivers, you're only going to be a parent to a few kids, right? And it feels like, and a bunch of people that I know, a bunch of good friends, they have 2-3 kids and they're done, and they're feeling like they just got the hang of it, right? Like they're good. Like now I know, what to do in all of these situations. I was just figuring it out the first 3. And now that I know, I'm never going to have a kid again. I guess I just have to wait till I have grandkids and my kids are asking me for advice. And by then, everything we do is going to be against the rules, right? Because every time you ask our parents, they're like, yeah, put them on their stomach to sleep. And it's like, actually, back to sleep. It's a thing. You got to have them on your back. They're like, no, yeah, things changed in the last 30 years. But my point is, like, there might be the really introspective veteran that's out there like, I have all this information that I've gained through all these experiences. I want to go impart wisdom on a young team. That's fine. You can bring that veteran in, but you just better be super aware that that's what they're thinking. Don't bring it in hoping they're going to think that, right? You'll get a whole bunch of Ryan Tannehills up there going, not part of my job to mentor. I'm here to play football. And it's going like, well, actually, we're not even trying to win it this year. We're trying to win it 3 years from now, and we do need you to mentor. And that's how you can get a really upset veteran really quickly, because they're going to be insulted. They're going to say, why would I be a mentor? I'm supposed to be a star, on and on and on and on. So before you get really excited, it's just a word of warning. Before you get really excited and put Stephon Diggs photoshopped in a Panthers uniform and print it out and stick it to your vision board and try to manifest it, just know that Stephon Diggs probably wants to go try to win a Super Bowl. And Stephon Diggs might get rightfully frustrated if it's week 10 and you're mathematically eliminated. Maybe not that early. Week 14, 15 and you're mathematically eliminated. Mm-hmm. Especially if he's not getting, 15, 20 catches a game. Which is only a little bit of an exaggeration. He probably wants 10.
Hey, if you're going to give him 15, 20, he'll probably take that. But that's something that, again, especially for Panthers fans, you have to be realistic with expectations in terms of who you can actually get. Just because you have money to spend, and it's like, oh, well, you could just overpay for him. Well, that guy that you mentioned, like Mike Evans, Stephon Diggs, these other top flight guys, they're going to get money anywhere.
They're going to get money anywhere.
Anywhere they go. So, like, why would you come to Carolina with a brand new head coach, with a second-year quarterback who's still very much unproven, or if, I don't know, Kansas City needs a wide receiver and they call me, where would you rather go?
I've also talked about this. Those guys, those names, Xavier Howard, Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans, wherever they go, for better or worse, they're immediately leaders. Right?
Oh, yeah,
absolutely. Every player still on their rookie contract, like, played with them in Madden. Like, grew up, like Mike Evans with Johnny Manziel at Texas A&M. Like, that was when like a 21-year-old was like 9 years old. Like,
they're kids.
They as soon as they walk in, I used to talk about this with Adrian Peterson when he was doing the. He went to Detroit. He went to Washington. He had, I think, Seattle.
Yeah, he bounced around a bunch of spots.
He bounced around a bunch, and I was going like, the hard part is he's probably at that point in his career. Obviously, he was great at just about everything early in his career. At that point in his career, he's probably a good short yardage back. But guess what? There's never going to be a practice where the running backs go do a drill and all the young guys don't wait for Adrian Peterson to go first. Like it's just it's Adrian Peterson, it's AP, it's AD, it's all day. It's 2,000 yards right after a torn ACL. Like it's just certain guys are not going to be able to be like, I'm a glorified fullback, basically. I'm just going to take third string reps, and you're going to call me on 3rd and 1 at the 40. Like, he could have done that for another 2 or 3 years, but it was never going to happen because it's like you need the starter to own the room. And any room AP was in, he was going to own the room. The same is true for a lot of those. Like, Mike Evans doesn't get to the wide receiver room and go like, no, it's cool, draw up a play for Jonathan Mingo, and everyone just goes, okay. And it's like, no, it's like they look at Mike Evans if it's okay. Right? Is it cool if I take the number 1 option on this read? Cool. Okay. All right, fine. It's like you can't have that when you have
Mike.
a young team. Yeah. Thanks, Mike. And also you, coach. It's like, did you thank him first? You need to establish everything the right way.